Hello and welcome to Master Edison Format. This is a channel for you to get better at Edison. Today we have a different type of video. I'm playing a deck which a lot of people don't like. I personally don't love, but just kind of a classic deck, Hero Beat. This deck is present in so many formats. It's a very interesting deck. I mean, the idea is that basically you're using the hero package kind of to the maximum in this deck. You have the hero brass, you have the Arises, the Stratos, the Sparks. You have basically, I mean, the heroes are the focus on the deck, and kind of the way it plays is literally in the name, Hero Beat. You're trying to control the game with all the traps or the or the monsters you have, and try to beat down your opponent with your big monsters. I have to say, it's a fun deck to play. It's very grindy. You get in a lot of games, or it kind of takes a while to close out the game. It's not super explosive. It's mostly a normal summon deck. You do basically the only way you really special summon is with the Miracle Fusion and Future Fusion, but basically other than that it's all normal summons. But it does play in a way that it rewards like good players and it punishes like really bad players. So it can beat down on a lot of like middling decks in the format. This type of deck can be quite strong depending on how you build it. I've tried a number of different versions. This is the kind of the most recent version I've tried, and I'm playing it with the skill drains and the Beast King Barbaros. I've tried many versions. I've tried without the Crystal Seer, with the Water Gemini monster. I've tried with Thunder Kings instead of the DD Warrior Lady. I've tried with different sets of traps. I've tried with smashing. I've tried with double legacy. I've tried and played around with a number of different things with this deck. But I have to say, overall, I do like this version of the deck. I have to be honest, I would be curious to see how this works with the Oppression in the main and with the Foster Dyna in the main instead of the Beast King and the Skill Drain. I think this version could be better against a number of matchups, because the Skill Drain is good, but it's alright. Like, in a lot of situations, unless you have a big monster to protect you, the Skill Drain is average. Like, it's quite strong against certain decks. Against Frogs, it's strong. Against, I would say, against Blackwing, it's decently strong. Against Vayu, it's okay. Like, it's good. It's good and bad. It really depends on like what type of hand they have. But I would say that the Skill Drain, when you draw it together with Barbaros, it's quite strong, because you do have a 3000 monster that is quite hard for them to beat over. And on top of that, this deck has like additional protection. You do have other traps to help you kind of close out the game, to help you kind of control the game. So it's not so easy for the opponent to come back. And then once this deck is on the front foot, it's quite difficult for the opponent to kind of stick a monster on the field unless they go through a combo you don't have an answer for it. Because like once you're on the front foot, then you keep normal summoning monsters, keep beating them down, and that's how this deck prefers to play. From the back foot, it's very difficult to play this deck, especially against players, against like decks like Blackwings and GBs, which have a lot of traps, and also have a lot of like for example, have interactions in the form of like counter traps or like damage step like carrots and stuff like that. It's not so easy to play in that situation, but overall the deck works. Works well. I mean, I have to say it's not for sure one of the best decks in the format. I think there's it's just a little bit underpowered. You do run in a lot of issues with this deck against monsters that are 2000 attack or 2000 defense or more. And if you look at the format, like the top decks, both Blackwings and Vayu play Sirocco. So already basically 2 of the top 3 decks play something that you have a really hard time getting over. Yes, you have Bottomless, you have Deep Prison, okay, all that is true, but they have Icarus attack. It's not so easy for you to get over that card. And then the other part is against Frogs, which is the other, Frog OTK, Fogs. The other top deck, they have the Dupe Frog, which is, and the Substitute, which have 2000 defense. And again, this deck basically can't get over that unless, and against that specifically, you can't even get over it with Honest, because if you attack with the Areas and the Honest, basically it will still be 2k, so you basically literally can't get over Dupe Frog. The only way you can kind of play, get around it is the DD Warrior Lady, but I mean, and that's why this is in the deck instead of Thunder King. That's the main reason. This is basically another kind of monster remover when like the rest of your monsters can't really don't really remove anything. And then the other thing is like, yeah, against Frogs and Frog and Hero Frog, yeah, when they set a monster, and this is why you have Nobleman in the side, you should, I would argue playing 3 of these in the side, because like it really does help out in that matchup. And then even against random decks, like for example against Dragon Turbo, they can set Debris Dragon, and then you might be stuck there. They can normal summon, some of their dragons, and they can attack over, for example, an Ocean or a Stratos. So it's not so easy for this deck to win. Like you have to play, I think, really well with a deck like this to win certain matchups. But it is a fun deck. It's I would say, especially going first, is definitely a good deck. And it's a test of skill, I would say. If the way I would kind of phrase it, it's a deck that requires a really patient play. Because if you get 2 for 1 with a deck like this, you're in a lot of trouble, because you basically don't really have a ton of ways of generating advantage. Like the Gemini Spark kind of generates advantage. If like the bottomless areas, you can pop something else and draw a card. It's like a 3 for 2 trade for you, or like a 2 for 1, however you want to call it. But there's not many ways of generating card advantage except for with your monsters attacking the opponent's monsters, and that's kind of how this deck generates its advantage. And yeah, Hero Blast is also a good 2 for 1 card. There's a lot of cards like this, but in general, like if they torrential like 2 or 3 of your monsters, like you're in a lot of trouble, because you don't have a ton of ways to get those back, and most of the other decks have much more powerful stuff they can do. So yeah, you have to play really carefully with this deck. You have to be very patient. And it is like, even with a deck like this, which is a beatdown deck, it is not so easy to close out the game sometimes, because your monsters only attack for 19, 18 at a time. But usually you can close out the game once you get you're on the front foot. Overall, I would say the Legacy of Yacht, I think, is quite strong. I would argue trying to find the space for 2 or 3 of this card, simply because it's a deck that everybody sides Dust Tornado against, and everybody kind of uses MSTs, heavy Dust Tornado, all kinds of stuff against this deck. And the Legacy of Yada gives you an extra chainable trap that you can get value off. And on top of that, this helps you unbreak some certain hands. This is the other weakness of the deck, is that even though you have E-Core, you have Rhoda, you can draw awkward hands. For example, you have the Gemini Spark without areas, or Honest without areas, or a Right monster, or you have just awkward hands with like Miracle Fusions and no water monsters. So there are some problems with this deck, and that's why I play the Crystal Seer. This is a card I saw other people playing this deck recently, and I really like it. I think it adds a needed level of consistency. I would also argue playing Book of Moon in a deck like this as an extra remover instead of Smashing Ground. Book of Moon together with a card like Crystal Seer in the deck is quite strong, because you can actually Book of Moon your own card when they attack it. That way you can get the effect twice if you really need to, and on top of that, it's just a remover and you can attack with yourself. But there are a few things you can change. I have to say, yeah, I wasn't like super impressed with the Skill Dane package. It did come up in certain games you won thanks to Barbaros and Skill Dane, but without this is just a target. This is just a material for Gaia. It doesn't really do anything else. That's kind of the deck for you. This is something to try out. There's a lot of different choices. You could make differently. Like I tend to side out like one of the Hero Bass. I tend to side out a Miracle if I'm siding Oppression. I'm not an expert on the deck by any stretch, but I like it. And you've seen some replays. Like it does kind of teach you a different play style. In the side you have Cyber Dragon. This is great in the mirror match, and this is also great in general. I mean, it's good against Blackwings, but it's good just because everyone else is gonna side in Cyber Dragon against you, so this just gives you a way to fuse their stuff. So the Cyber Dragons for sure is good. Fossil Dyna, I like to bring in the goals. When I side out the Skill Dane and Barber, I bring in the goals, and you see how in one of the replays this came up. And I would say if I wasn't playing the Skill Dane in the main, I would also main deck this goals, because a deck like this needs something surprising like this goals to help come back in the game. I think this card works quite well in this type of deck, and if I was gonna build this differently, I would probably cut the Skill Dane, put the goals, put another Legacy, cut these two for maybe 2 Fossil Dyna, or maybe I don't know, something else. Maybe you play main deck one Dust Tornado. I don't know. You would have to kind of think about it, but yeah, I would definitely, if I was going to do this again, I would probably cut this part, even though it's quite strong in certain matchups. Overall, I was not super impressed by it. In the side, we have a Snowman Eater. This usually replaces one Crystal Seer in certain matchups, like against Blackwings and stuff like that. Thunder King, never really sided this in that often, but it's a right monster. It can be good, but I would argue this is probably, you could probably cut this. Kaiko, it's good against Vayu. Not really too much else to say there. Nobleman is good going second against our other decks. Good, decent against Vayu, good against Frogs. So yeah, this comes in a lot. I think you could even play 3 of this. Dust Tornado, pulling the rug. Frog matchup is quite tough, not just because of the 2000 defense, but because they have a lot of ways to punish you. Like the Honest, is very hard to resolve against them, because either you can't attack them or they banish you right monster with the Monarchs, so with the Kairos. So it's you do need some help in the Frog matchup. And then yeah, Double Oppression. You could argue playing this in the main because you only have 3 special summons in the whole, or 4 special summons in the whole deck. So you could make a version of this with Oppression in the main. The only problem with maining Oppression, of course, is that when you run into the Blackwing and Vayu matchups, the Oppression doesn't look so great there. And yeah, so you know it's kind of like a double-edged sword there. The X deck, it's kind of very standard. You're making absolute 0 all the time, and sometimes Gaia, and you have this for the sideboard. The rest of the X deck, you make Stardust for Starlight Road, but the rest of the X deck you don't really do anything with. So let's go into some replays and see how the deck performed. The first replay we're playing against Ghost Wanted. We get to go first. He's playing Hero Frog, not a great matchup for us. We start with the Rhoda into Stratos, into Neos, nothing too crazy there. You could argue here going for the Ocean instead of the Neos because of the Miracle Fusion, but we do have the Future Fusion, so I don't think it will be a problem to get a Water in the grave. So I'd rather go for Arius. Arius is good for Honest, it's good for Gemini. Yeah. Here he goes with so I decide to deprison here. I think we want to get on the front foot and get the damage. So I decide to, I realize we're playing against Frogs, or we're playing a mirror match, and you just want to be on the front foot. Like Frogs, if you give it time, it's gonna slowly but surely basically destroy you. Here, 1 for 1, they go into this. I chain to this, the Gemini, to pop this, so they don't have really a way to basically do the dupe rock. I could have waited, but I decided that's a good time to do it. Goes into Catastor. Catastor is not great because I can just crash my absolute 0 and then pop everything and then the attack for game with my Beast King. I did show him the Beast King that game, didn't necessarily need to do that maybe, but I wanted to go for game. So here kind of interesting thing. Here I think it's a mistake what I did. I shouldn't have summoned the Ares. I should have been more patient. I summoned the Ares to try to get some damage on the board because he seems to have kind of a bricky hand, which he does. But I kind of ran into a Deep Prison, and then I chained this Gemini to pop the Deep Prison to draw a card. I just wanted to like trade this basically turn this Gemini into an upstart, plus the Neos doesn't get banished, which is also important. I said to he decides not to heavy, which shows a lot of constraint on his part. I'm very surprised by this. And here I decide to, okay, MST first. Luckily Dust Tornado's the Legacy. I had a feeling this was a Regeki or Dust Tornado, so that's why I waited on the Legacy. But I got lucky he didn't hit the Oppression, but of course he has the Heavy Storm. I didn't expect him to have it. And that's kind of why well played on his part, because like he could have heavied into 2 back row last turn, but he didn't do that, and he showed a lot of constraint, and it kind of worked out for him. So here, yeah, we go for Stratos. Stratos, I decide to pop, I believe, yeah, which we got lucky. We hit a Mirror Force, and yeah, this is quite good. Here I have the Skill Drain now. The Skill Drain, is decent in this matchup. He takes the Stratos, which I don't understand, simply because why would you not take the Arius here is a little bit strange for me, because like, okay, number one, okay, he doesn't know I have Skill Drain, but second of all, like, why would you not take the bigger monster, which I guess like you're afraid of another Gemini Spark. But even if I have another Gemini Spark, I could chain it to the, I don't know, I guess like this, he's playing around certain things, he's not playing around others. We top deck the Barbaros, which is huge here. He didn't know that the Barbaros stays 3000 under Skill Drain, so we I had to kind of explain that to him for a second. I decided not to commit another monster here. If I remember correctly, did I dash shoot him? No, I didn't. Okay. I decided not to commit a monster because this 3-board is going to come back anyway. So if I summon this, it just gives him something that he can attack over with a potential mono or anything. I decided to e-core because this is the last target in the deck. And I don't want to draw it, and then the e-core is dead. Yeah, goes for Absolute Zero. Here's another reason why I didn't commit another monster, because I know the Absolute Zero can run into that. So here we top deck Judgment, which is horrible here. Then we top deck Oppression, which is also horrible here. And yeah, we run into him. He has a Stratos. Kind of one thing I want to mention is always activate the effects, even if you're under skill drain. Because if I torrential or something, the effects still work. So, you know, that's something to keep in mind. Here we start, we're going to game 3, start with Crystal Seer. We get to see 2 cards. We add a Gemini. I just have a feeling I'm going to get the Arius again, so I decide to get a Gemini. He does tornadoes the Gemini, so okay, we don't have any extra target. Pulling the rug here comes in clutch. And here we're gonna go and attack. He has heavy and does tornado. And that's where, when you're ahead, like this deck works well, because also your opponents are not always ready for it. They're gonna, they're gonna often like just try to, fight through your back row, but then your monsters can carry them. Here I think I make a little bit of a mistake of setting all 3. Honestly, I should have just set 2 here. Like, I don't think I needed both Oppression and Gemini Spark. I decided not to chain it. I don't think there's a ton of value, especially because if it's something he can chain, I don't even get to draw a card, so then it's just a complete waste. So yeah, he has a Stratos, he attacks. We draw a Dash Shoot, which is gonna come in, which is gonna be important here. We attack and attack directly. I'm not afraid of gold. Like, he could have goals, but I'm just not gonna believe he has gold. I take the Crow because we have the Miracle Fusion, and I know he has Creature Swap, and he could give me a Crow if he wanted, and I don't want to take his own Crow. So here we go for Absolute Zero. I decided to give in the Barbaros. I didn't know I was going to do a skill drain, of course. Here I decided to skill drain in case this is a Raikou or some type of Snow Man-Eater or anything like that. Here we end phase and hit MST. And yeah, we win the game. We have another Miracle, so I'm just gonna go for game there. And yeah, that was the first replay. In the second replay, we play against a subscriber on the channel. It's always fun to run into, one of my few subscribers. So yeah, he starts off with a Stratos. We're playing a mirror match, which is very interesting, but you'll see it's a very grindy game. So I start off with Arius, attack over Stratos, and that's kind of how you see it. That's technically a +1, killing an opponent monster for free. And that's kind of how you mainly get presses in this deck. Here we have kind of a Gemini Spark like batter. He attacks. I decide to prison, even though it was played by him, because he didn't even really have a honest. I thought he did, so that's kind of why I prisoned, but he kind of baited me into it. And so what happens is that he Gemini Sparks, hits the set card, and I chain hits my set Gemini Spark, and I chain it, and we rule it that he doesn't draw. I don't know if that's exactly it. I think that should be correct because I chained it, so technically it doesn't get destroyed by the Gemini Spark, but yeah, we would have to, yeah, I think that's the correct ruling, but we have to see. So yeah, here he attacks Deep Prison. I was hoping he didn't have a second one, but he did. We summon, run into Torrential. I tried to go for damage there, and you see I got kind of punished 2 for 1. He has Oppression, which not everybody plays in this deck. Crystal Seer gets a Rhoda. Rhoda is fine, gets Arius. Like, now he's kind of in a tough situation. Here I make a decision not to bottomless. I was thinking either he had a Gemini or some type of way to save this Arius, and if he attacks, I'd rather this banish it than like do anything else. So here I just put in defense and just wait for a second. Yeah, I decided to attack now because I want my Crystal Seer to survive, otherwise he's just gonna attack over. And here he plays Morphing Jar. This is something I don't play. I don't know, I don't love this type of card, but I guess in this deck specifically, this could be a way to generate a ton of advantage actually. So it doesn't really work so well with the skill drain, but I mean, I guess you could, it's a Earth monster too, you could argue it makes sense. So here, yeah, we basically discard a hand. I could have summoned the Barbaros at this point, might have been better, but anyway. We both basically reset, and that's kind of why this game lasted for so long too, is that we both basically restarting from nothing. summon the Stratos, get to search another areas, and yeah, we're just kind of going for the maximum value. We get to dash shoot, and like dash shoot is not great against this deck. I know about, so here's what happened. I know that he has Oppression, Prison, Spark, and Bottomless. I thought he was gonna set either Bottomless or Prison. Didn't really need to do it in end phase probably, but yeah, I could have, honestly I could have held my MSC there. But anyway, he dash shoots here. I forgot to shuffle, don't worry, I will shuffle in a second. Here he summons this, we Bottomless, because I know about the Prison, so if I can't clear that, that's gonna start adding his stuff back to hand. So here we have Crystal Seer, we get the Legacy of Yata. I think this is quite a good card here. And I know he has a Prison, but I don't think he has anything else, so I decide to attack, and then I don't attack with Stratos because he didn't use the Prison yet, so I kind of hold it for one more turn. Here I decide to Prison his own Ocean. That feels quite good because he has Miracle, and as you see here, I decide not to pop the Oppression. First of all, I know he has multiple, and second of all, I don't think the Oppression is that good in this matchup, because like the only thing it shuts down is my Miracle, and currently it's shutting down his own Miracle too, so it's kind of an even trade for me. I don't really care about him having it. He has both Euroblast and Deep Prison, so he gets to clear both monsters. These Crystal Seers are kind of awkward here in attack position, but what are you gonna do? I decide to take the areas to pop this. It doesn't target, so he's supposed to, I guess he has to chain this before, but anyway, he Judgments, which I understand this situation. That would be a kind of a terrible 2-for-1. So we Mirror Force, the Gemini Sparks. He's kind of in an advantageous position, except that if you think about it, he has one more card than me now. And like this MST on Legacy was really good value for me. He has one more card, however, he only basically the only card that's really live here is Bottomless, because he has double Oppression, which is not really doing much here, only stopping my Miracle, but it's stopping both of his Miracle Fusion. On top of that, he's low on life, which is also, you know, something to keep in mind. And then on top of that, he also has this Dust Tornado, but anyway, we're gonna start popping him with Honest. Dust Tornado hits Bottomless, which doesn't feel great because also he draws a monster. But yeah, we draw the areas, he Bottomless the areas, we Gemini. I mean, I know about the other one, I kind of know about the other one, so I don't want to really hit a Miracle or an Oppression. Yeah, that's just game. Nothing really much else to do, because he's gonna be down to nothing. Like we can summon the Beast King, we can use Miracle, and then he has to pay, and then he's dead. So here MSC is my Judgment. We both have Crystals here. He attacks. I let it happen. I know. I'm afraid if he Gemini Spark this Crystals here, that's much worse. Like if I Deep Prison, he chains that, and then he draws a card. I don't even get to see cards with my card, so it's not a great trade for me. So I decide to just let that happen. I pass here, which, yeah, could be a mistake. Like, he even has Super Power in the side. There's something I should probably add to my side deck as well, but anyway, goes for Stratos, effect to pop, which pops the Deep Prison, unfortunately. So here my plan was to Deep Prison these areas, with the idea that the Gemini Spark wouldn't get that much value, because if I summon a Cyber Dragon attack, or if I do something, if I Deep Prison the areas and I have another card on the field, he can then spark the other card. So yeah, I kind of like that thought, and now I'm way behind. I try to Future Fusion, and go for send both water monsters in the grave. He Geminis my Cyber Dragon. We set one, he goes for Miracle Fusion, goes for Absolute Zero, goes for this. We decide to banish his monster first, because this Absolute Zero was going to clear everything anyway, and I try to Mirror Force, but unfortunately he has a Judgment there, the Sorin Judgment. So yeah, that's game 2. We got behind way too early in the game, and then it was tough. Here we don't have a great hand. We do have the goals though, and you see the goals here comes up clutch. Also, you see like in 2 games this Legacy of Yata was a +1. He used his MST, and we got to Legacy him. And now, yeah, he is not expecting the goals here either. I would have used his Legacy to summon the goals anyway, but yeah, now he's kind of in a tough position. He plays Call Daunted here, which it's interesting. I guess you could try it, but I think you have so many cards that like interact with the graveyard. I don't know if I love Call Daunted, but anyway, he summons Arius. We Honest, because the Ghost token is a right monster, so that's pretty good value. and then Hero Blast. Okay, it's gonna pop the ghost token here, but we're still kind of far ahead. Like, he's very low on life. He doesn't have a way to stop these goals now. Sets 1, sets 2, but not really too many things to do. Like, we use this now. I go for Nobleman, and yeah, that's just gonna be game. He doesn't have another way to stop anything, and yeah, he was very nice. Some nice things about the Chandler. I mean, we're played by him, but you know, I did have like the goals in the mirror match. I think is extremely strong, especially if they don't have Gemini Spark, because like it plays around bottomless, plays around oppression, plays around. I mean, a ton of things here. Doesn't get hit by blast. Doesn't get. I mean, plays around torrential. Like in the mirror match and in certain matchups, this goal is insane. And I do bring it in when I side out the skill drain, but I would argue that like this on its own, this card might be better than skill drain and the Beast King and all of that. So that's why I would say if you play Hero Beat, I think you should find a way to play goals, because it's just so unexpected by players that it would catch them off guard a lot of the time. In the next replay, we're playing against MD Fashion Core. I think he was on Gladiator Beasts, which is a matchup I don't love, but yeah, it looks like he has pretty bricky hand to start. His main deck in Dust Tornado, you don't see that often. Usually see Trap Stun, but okay. So main deck Dust Tornado, we summon the Warrior Lady into his bottomless. Then he heavies both cards, which unfortunate. You know, I was hoping he didn't have heavy, but of course they always have it. So here we go for Stratos. We have Rhoda Stratos into Arius, and now we go to attack. The problem, of course, is that it top decks a GB monster, and now, you know, already this is gonna pop, and then we take it under. This gets to summon the party, and this is 2100, so we have basically no way of getting over it, and we are kind of like in a tough position, like where, yeah, I try to honestly, like I was thinking, yeah, he either has the Gladiator Beast trap, or he has some type of battle trap. I was thinking there's only 2 to 3 copies of the Gladiator Beast trap, and if I attack, I'm basically telegraphing honest. He's more likely to have Deep Prison or Mirror Force or something like that, and so I was hoping he would have one of those, and I could change Gemini Spark. But once he didn't have that, I should have gone for Gemini Spark and popped the monster, but I didn't do that, and unfortunately, yeah, he basically gets to do all of this. He top decks the Rescue Cat. It's just over. There was no chance there. I just give up. There's no chance we come back from that. So game 2, he brought in. I guess he brought in the Smashing. I mean, he has a number of things. He has Torrential here. We have the Starlight Road, so we have a pretty aggressive hand here. I go for it because I know that if this is a Torrential Mirror Force, we can Starlight, and then we have a Stardust on the field to stop his stuff. That was kind of lagging, so I summoned 2 Stardust by mistake. So here, the reason why I use Skill Drain is because if he has something like a Ghost, and some GB players have that, I don't want him to get a token, yeah, I think this is more important than like potentially, I don't know, just showing him the Skill Drain. So here we go to attack, he Mirror Force, I explained to him that the Stardust can work under Skill Drain because it tributes as cost, so yeah, we basically win the game. He does shoot us turn 1, but that's not too bad because I see that he has no back row, so I can just attack straight with the Arius, and basically that's already a +1. Like, he just sacrificed a GB for no reason. I don't think he needed to summon it there, but anyway. Here we bottomless, so we were kind of figuring out how the ruling works. So apparently Test Tiger is not a cost to tribute it. And so when he summons both monsters with the Rescue Cat, he can call Prio, but even if he calls Prio, the monster needs to be on the field. So even if it gets hit by Bottomless, Test Tiger doesn't quite work. Or at least I chained the bottoms to the Test Tiger effect, so it didn't quite work. But anyway, we were kind of trying to figure out how this worked. But anyway, I get to attack. He has a ton of hate for he has Twister, MST, and Dust Tornado. I think at some point this is too much, because yes, I know Skill Drain and Oppression, all this stuff hurts you, but like at this point, like you have heavy, you have like 4 like trap removal cards, and like yes, I need to draw exactly like 4 traps for you to use it in this. I just think it's too much, honestly. But anyway, we have a Stratos pops his Twister for free, and then we attack. I don't really need to search for Stratos. I already have basically every hero in my hand. And yeah, now he has this, and this I didn't even know Gladiator Beasts players played this, but I guess they do, and so this, yeah, we basically run into this. We Future Fusion, go for the Ocean, everything gets popped. I go for it because I know that like I have Miracle, so I can win the game with the Miracle, with the Absolute Zero, and the other reason to go for it is that if Torrential gets used now, it doesn't get used on the next Absolute Zero that's coming in play next turn. So yeah, it was gonna be a game anyway. But I'm glad and kind of surprised we beat GBs, because like especially going second against this deck, it's not easy to win. I think my opponent definitely has like an interesting list. I don't think you play the 2100 defense guy usually. I think this is kind of way too overkill. Especially, I don't know if he's playing Trapstone, but I think, especially if you're playing Trapstone, this is way too overkill against my deck, or against any deck, honestly, having both Tornado and Twister. But okay, I guess, I mean, he really wants to pop the back row, so I think this is a classic example of like oversight decking. I think this is too much. I guess like he has Tornado in the main, but like, how many removal traps do you really need, like, honestly? Replay will play against Yurvasta Suni. He's on Blackwings, which is generally, I think, it's generally quite a tough matchup. So I usually play around, like, I'm in Italy, I'm working in Italy, so I play around European time, and there's a lot of European players on Blackwing in general. Yeah, he starts off with the Whirlwind. Like, this is a tough hand to play against. He doesn't have a ton of traps, which is good. The problem is that he has both the Karut, so I can't really attack over this. He has the Whirlwind, so he has the card advantage, and he has the Blizzard to make a synchro play as well. So we're kind of in a tough situation. I said the Torrential, hoping to get a 2-for-1 here. He draws Bottomless. We summon the areas and pass. I let him attack it because I have the Deep Prison. And here he makes, I think, a big mistake. Like, me summoning areas against my deck, you should always know that, like, I could have, I guess you don't know it's a Hero Beat, it could be Hero Fork, but you should know that I could have basically just about any, I could have Gemini Spark at any moment here. So he Brain Controls, and I chain the Gemini Spark, pop the Whirlwind, summon the Shura. I go for the Barbos, gets Bottomless. Yeah, we get to dash shoot, get some information. I get rid of the goals. I really don't want to see goals. I don't really have an out to it. Like, all my cards are not really out to the goals. He goes for Gare here. So here's the interesting thing. I don't think he dash shooted me or anything. He just read that this was a snowman set or something like that, or something he couldn't attack over. Basically, I think that was just his read. So he went for this Gare, Shura Gare play, which I don't hate, but I mean, look, seeing me set 3, like, you should figure out at some point that this is probably gonna be a Starlight Road or Judgment of some kind. So we get to Starlight Road these back rows, we get Stardust, we Bottomless Rock. I don't know why you chained the compulsory to Star. I don't know why you'd have to do it there. You could wait, but okay. He does now. He attacks with the Bora. I know his hand. I know Karut and I know Blizzard, so I need to kind of finish this game quickly. So I decide to go for damage. I have Torrential set, but I also have Bottomless. So unless he draws like a Heavy Storm, like I really have an out to whatever he's gonna make with the Blizzard now. The only thing I don't have out to is like basically Icarus attack. So Icarus pops both, but I do still have the Beast King in my hand. I want to Torrential finally, so I get some value of this card, and now I attack with the Barbos. I don't know why he quit so quickly, because this is 19, but I guess like he just it was still 19. I didn't change my attack stat in time, but yeah, I was just it's quite obvious that it's 19. I guess he was thinking I had the skill day instead, but I mean, I didn't, so I think it was kind of a mistake. So here again, you see this deck punishes like players who are a bit hasty very well. So here he leaves a Shura on the field. He doesn't have Karut, and against Blackwings you always think they have Karut, but they don't always have it. So here I summon the Iris attack over, and he has to use the Deep Prison because otherwise he's gonna lose his Shura. And since you have Sirocco in the hand, why are you even summoning Shura? You have Sirocco and you have Gourds here. I think the much better play would have been either to do nothing or just set Dust Tornado and pass, and just make me attack into a potential Gourds or something. I think like this is just a mistake, because yes, you do have the Deep Prison, but I basically got a free 2-for-1 here with Gemini Spark, and got to pop the Shuraf anyway, and he lost a card in that exchange. and now we set one, and here's where I'm actually quite proud of this play. I know he's sided in the Dust Tornado, I know he has MST in his deck, and I had a strong feeling the second set was going to be either a Legacy of Yata or a Dust Tornado. And so to check for that, I decided not to go for Future Fusion. I actually just set my, and I decided not to set my skill drain because I have Barbaros, so this skill drain is going to be quite good. And I just set by Deep Prison and see, and wanted to see what he had. And he, of course, he had Dust Tornado, but the other reason for only setting one is, of course, to play around Icarus. So, you know, that's always something you want to keep in mind. He goes for Blizzard into Goryo, does some damage. He has another Dust Tornado for my Future Fusion, but that's completely fine. My skill drain gets to live. And this skill drain is what's gonna really change the game. I decided to use skill drain now because I was thinking goals and I want him to get a token. I'm really glad I did, because otherwise he would have gone to summon the token. I checked, yeah, I was quite certain, but I just checked. You know, it's always good to give your opponents evidence. That's not just your word. So here we attack. We have a Starlight Road even as protection. He has a Solemn, but I mean, not really anything he can do there. I mean, he quit a little bit early, a little bit soon. Like, he could have still, you know, found something, but yeah, like, unless you draw, like, even if you have an Icarus, we have the Starlight Road. Like, I mean, he has Judgment, so like, it wasn't really over yet, but yeah, this deck is quite good at playing from in front. Here, I activate the Stratos effect because even if I'm under skill drain, let's say he has Torrential or something like that, or Bottomless, then the Stratos will get its effect. So, you know, kind of just a general rule of thumb, even if skill drain is active, this just negates the effect. Doesn't prevent you from activating them. So you still want to activate it, and then if something gets chained, like a Torrential Bottomless, you actually get to restore the effect, because skill drain only negates on the field. So, you know, that's why I always activate the effect, even if nothing's gonna happen. You know, in the half chance to have a Bottomless, Torrential, something like that, you still get to use the effect. Okay, well, I think this is, you know, kind of a good showing. Like, we beat a number of good decks. We beat Hero Frog, we beat Blackwing, we beat Gladiator Beasts, you know, so I think this deck does have potential, especially if you play against, you know, less experienced players or players who are not going to be so careful. You can really punish them with this deck. I do think you can still make a lot of changes to the list, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.